it's interesting to see. I have a new background today, so
in the library.
I'm in the library. We're reading up on how to best do a launch week. So all those books, launch week books.
Nice, 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 nice.
But
It's a
it's
lot of lot.
interesting. I mean, like my chair shimmers in this background. I think more than my old one. I don't know. I can't tell. So
Yeah, I wonder if the I don't think it would, right? But the like the zoom detection or the restream detection, um, it doesn't take into account the color of the background, right? It wouldn't. It's just looking at your actual video footage.
yeah,
Um, so it's funny that it would, or
right,
that
right.
that's noticeable.
Google's is definitely better, I think, than the Restream one. I wonder what company owns the like. There has to be some provider that does the virtual backgrounds on a stream for all these
Hmm.
companies. Probably
Hmm.
Google has their own, but like I don't know, Restream and all these other all these webinar type companies.
Yeah,
They're not all building it themselves, but
yeah.
I mean, it's pretty interesting. So I think like this is our um, pre-launch week, weekly Wednesday, which is
Very
exciting.
exciting. Very exciting. Launch week is a wild thing. I think a lot of people probably haven't even heard of what a launch week is,
That's true.
and because it's something that's been popularized or like has growing popularity in the developer world, but like definitely not in the creator world. I don't think, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like when I first came across a launch week, it was probably about like 2 years ago or so. I forget who. I think it was. I forget off the top of my head, but it was definitely some developer company, some SaaS platform that I was using, and it was a cool concept because it was like this condensing of all these features and releasing them all in like 1 week to build hype and to just be like, hey, like there is some event that's extended and we're Jellypod's just small. It's just us two, you know. And so it's like we can't do a massive like a keynote or a conference or something and like demo like, oh, this is this crazy new multi-billion-dollar facility that we have in
Hmm.
Oklahoma or some new product line that we're releasing. So this is the closest thing that we can get to be like an event. So yeah, I mean, 5 days next week, starting on Monday, and five new features coming out. Um, you could try to guess what they are. If I think it'd be fun if people can guess. If you're in our Discord and you wanna guess like, oh, is this what's gonna come out or whatever, let us know or put it in the feature requests. And then if it is something on launch week, we'll tag you and we'll be like, yo, this is what just came out. But yeah, what are you most excited about?
For launch week.
Yeah.
What I'm most excited about is what we talked about yesterday, which is just that it's sort of this big milestone. Like you're sort of when you're in the throes of working on this stuff. Every week is new. Every day, you're just trying to take as many steps forward as you can. So this is just
Mhm.
like the first really big milestone since our launch on January 7th. So
Right.
it's super cool just to almost like use it as like a yardstick and just sort of like a flash forward. It's like it's almost like like when you see someone every day, and then they don't really change. But you haven't seen someone in months. You see them, you're like, oh my god, did you lose weight? Have you gotten taller?
Totally.
So that's how like what I'm really excited about is just like over the last 24 hours, I've had that same reaction to Jellypod. It's like, oh wow, you've gotten taller. Like, oh wow, you've gotten, and I rewatched our launch video and just seeing all the cool it's just so different, right? It's really,
'Cause
it's Jellypod 2.0.
we're so close to it every day. Like we're in there, we're building, we're talking to all our customers through chat, and it's cool to take a step away and be like, okay, 2.5 months ago when we launched on January 7th to now March 12th, and then launch week starting on the 17th. It's like a lot has been done. I mean, there's been so much feedback coming in, like what are the like just going back from January 7th when we launched to now. Like I think my favorite thing was well transcript editing. Was that in there or was that in the beta? Was transcript editing a
That
part?
was in there. That was in
That was
there.
in there. Okay, that so for anyone knows, we had about a month or so prior to January 7th that was live with invites only. So if you wanted access to Jellypod, you could just sign up for a wait list and we'll add you in. And actually, during that time, we didn't have a transcript editing, which is
That's wild.
pretty wild. Isn't that wild? Like that's like a core feature that we have.
That's like a core
And we
part of the
didn't have it in the
vision.
beta. Yes.
Yeah. I feel that was something like day one you wanted to build, but there was just so much to build before you could build that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And I mean, the transcript creditor, like, it keeps paying dividends. I just had an email exchange with one of our customers, and um, they love the combination. Like their two biggest features are host backstories and transcript editing. They think the host backstories are magical, that they make the script like almost exactly the way they want it, and they come in and just make their final tweaks. And so it's just so cool to see it actually unfold the way that we've always sort of thought about it.
Totally. Like the host backstory thing is interesting. It's like such a small piece in like very, very forward in the flow. Like when you come in, pretty much you could either create your podcast first or create your host. We pretty much force you to create a host first, but a lot of people already use Eric Marquette there as a default one, just so you can go faster if you want to without creating a host. But it is wild to me because putting in a sentence or two in that backstory, how different that will cause your podcast to be. Like just like
Yeah.
one little small detail you put in that backstory in the host, it's going to just completely change that host's personality, their characteristics, how they talk about things. Um, and it feels magical because I believe it's so distant or distant enough away from when the transcript is created that it feels like not this heavy burden to create something, but it's like, oh, you do one thing over here, that's done, checkpoint. Then you do another thing over here, and that's done, checkpoint, like outline. And then you do another thing over there, which is like the editing and the listening and like pretty much the final reviewing step. And because there's such distinct steps, it doesn't feel like there's just this huge burden to get to this end product that you actually kind of like or you're excited to hear and listen to. Because like, you could imagine just like we just put all the stuff that you needed to do in one page
One
right
giant
there, like
form.
one giant form,
One
and
giant
you're
like
like, I'm never gonna
healthcare
do
form.
this, right? So
I think a big
yeah,
part of that is also just you get something at each one of those checkpoints you just described, right? You give the host backstory, but then like you have a new voice or you've created something that feels cool in and of itself. So it's like we get it's almost like these little like reward mechanisms along the way. You put
right,
in your sources, your research, and you get this like story arc.
right.
Um, and then the final step, you put in the final transcript edits, and you actually get the final product.
Well, I mean,
Um,
talking about rewards, like that's a great segue into what like this cool thing that we're gonna do for launch week. So
mm,
um, we're posting about launch week on all of our social medias, Twitter or X, LinkedIn, um, Discord, what
YouTube.
else? YouTube. Yeah. And we were just doing this promo. We're going to do this promo. So if you create something on Jellypod and tag us or just like tag us with Jellypod launch week, hashtag Jellypod launch week, tag us on that, and send us a screenshot or we'll try to be proactive. Just tag us and we'll give you 1,000 free credits. So you can go and create some more podcast episodes for free. It's just a way to be like, hopefully get the word out a little bit more about Jellypod launch week and reward you for helping us grow. So
Yeah, that's a great shout out. And yeah, please do. Sometimes it can be hard to tell. Like in the past, when we've done, people will post YouTube comments, things like that. Just don't forget to message us. We try to be proactive, but like we can't. Sometimes the usernames are different. Like, what can we
yeah,
do?
yeah,
So do remember to reach out to us.
totally. And then I mean, if that's if you want and you want to put if you're a part of our affiliate program, I mean, put the affiliate link in the whatever you're doing. Maybe you can get some commissions if you want, if you're part of the affiliate program. But if you're not, better for us, kind of. I don't know,
Yeah,
because you get the discount and the commission. So,
and the
but
person signing up gets the discount too. So it's like,
right,
in a way,
right, yeah, right.
so it's like it's there's good on both sides.
Yeah,
Someone's getting something
right,
good.
right. Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So launch week. So I think it'd be pretty interesting because today we're not going to talk about features just because we're going to push everything into launch week. And if if you're watching the live right now and you have comments about things that are upcoming, let us know. But I kind of thought it'd be interesting to think about how we're doing launch week. Like what are the events? Like what can people look for? Is it offline? Is it online? And how are we doing? Like what are we doing on our end to kind of build this up? Like what is the strategy here? I thought it'd be kind of cool to share with people.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think the key stuff is to redo the things that worked well with our launch over
Mhm.
again. So I would say that like to us, the biggest things that worked well were a high quality video that gets shared across YouTube, but then also all the various channels. I think like our initial launch video has like thousands of views, and a great subscriber driver as well. So that's one. Two, one that we thought we weren't sure would work, but excited to try again was Product Hunt. So this is like a great site for sort of like indie, people who like brand new products. So we usually launch there with that video, and then sort of the writer outreach has also really been helpful, or it was very helpful the first go around. So we'll see if this launch week provides that same sort of newsworthy moment. So those are the three main things I think we're redoing.
Mhm.
But this is the first launch week, so it is kind of an exciting thing. Like we didn't have a Discord channel back then. We didn't have
Is that true? You didn't have Discord on launch?
or maybe we had it in the beta, but it was like, an order of magnitude smaller, I think, in terms of the
Right.
amount of people in it. I think
Right.
we may have been driving people better towards it earlier because of the
The
wait
waitlist.
list.
Mm.
Um, but and then the wait list, like, or the email list. Um, I think we're at like close to 20,000 users.
Mhm.
So the available amount of people that will see the message and can share it more publicly.
There's a lot of
Um,
podcasts being created. 20,000 users. It's pretty cool to see like users are creating multiple episodes. It's pretty sweet. I wonder it'd be a cool calculation to do like how many hours of audio have been generated through Jellypod a day. I don't know that. We don't have that metric right
yeah,
offhand. But I bet you it's like weeks. Has to be at least weeks. 20,000 users. Each episode is like
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah,
It's
you
pretty
put it
crazy.
when you just do it like that, totally. Yeah, there's so many users I think that like will like make two podcasts, hit their credit limit on the free plan, really like it, but just, for one reason or another, not convert to the paid plan. Like I was just talking to someone in support who's in Cairo, and like
Mm.
he loves the thing, even though so he's in Cairo, he speaks Arabic. He didn't like that the Arabic sounded too folky, but nonetheless, he said that he loved the platform and he wished he could keep using it. But just he like I think he was in between jobs right now, so he wasn't able to hop on the paid plan. But yeah, I mean, this obviously won't be something that comes out in the short term, but I am excited for a future where free is something that can be done um, over time. It's something that isn't just like at the beginning of your experience, but can continue. I don't know if that means like ad supported or if that means something else entirely. I don't know.
Mhm.
Um, but I do think that that is interesting because there's just a lot of creativity. I feel like that goes into some of these things. Like I've seen some awesome student ones around various classes that people have, or I mean, there's just so many that it would be cool for some of these to actually kind of see the consistency necessary to potentially, actually make it.
Right, right. No, it's pretty interesting. Like the assumption that we're working with is that the cost of generating audio decreases significantly over time, and like we like our I think I look at Jellypod as a premium platform. Like we focused significantly on being this all-in-one, like one-stop shop for editing, creation. hosting, distribution. Like you can go and go to these other platforms that are doing hosting and then create your Notebook LM podcast or like use some other platform to create audio. And then you have to find a hosting provider and then you have to do all this stuff. Like kind of what we're trying to do is be that single place where you don't have to go and do all these other things and stitch together pieces. It's like just come here, one subscription, and everything kind of just works for you because from the creation to the distribution and everything in between, even to the growth, like it could be interesting, what you're just talking about with free users. Something that I would like to add in the near future, and I'm okay with sharing this because it's not going to be in the launch week, but um, like analytics, where you can see the traffic that is going to your websites and podcasts and things like that, which would be really cool because if you can have a feedback mechanism to know that, hey, if you share your podcast with your friends and your family and you have growth, it could be shown directly in Jellypod. Um, Spotify, if you're connecting your podcast to Spotify or to Apple Podcasts, you have metrics there that they will provide for that one platform. But for us to give you more metrics and more insights into your podcast website and things that actually are under the Jellypod umbrella directly is like also something that's pretty interesting for us. So we win, you win, growing your account, growing anything. So
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like, there's been so much progress, I feel like, on the custom websites um, up until this point, and there's no reason that would slow down. And I think for a lot of folks, like those custom websites can be huge value drivers, even obviously for analytics. Like everyone wants to see their podcast, like played 10,000 times in a day or something. But we have a lot of business users who are just like, who will get like 60 people. They're a data center product, and one customer converts, and that pays for a year's worth of podcasts.
sure.
A 10x return on a year's worth of podcasts. So something as simple as like a CTA form or a CTA button. I'm not saying that it's going to happen anytime soon, but just there's so much that can be done to really help people uh take something away outside of just the content.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, that's super interesting. Like the data center, that podcast was pretty interesting to listen to, talking about like moving to the cloud and the compliance and all the other things they think about when doing that. It is wild to me that's still like for us being a two-person small company. Yes, for anyone that's new here, it's just Jason and I, and we're growing. So if you're interested in joining the team and fast growing, and let us know. We're looking for a founding product engineer and somebody that's just really AI native in terms of the tooling and their engineering efforts, wants to own a lot of the product lifecycle, and enjoys the mission that we're on in terms of democratizing the ability for people to be creative and express themselves through a new medium that has not yet existed until today. So if that sounds like you or somebody that you want to introduce, just let us know, and we'd be really appreciative of it. So that's a little plug there for our hiring, for our careers. So check out the careers page. Um, but yeah, I mean, like just think about how before 2008 and whatever, like you had to actually spin up servers and everything, and now there's the cloud, and everybody kind of takes that for granted, and we can just do this, just us two, without having to invest in a data center or like even server racks. So pretty cool stuff.
Totally. I mean, it's even going even further, right? Like a few years ago, you would have to put in a lot of engineering resources in managing your infrastructure, even in the cloud,
Totally.
right? Like to manage all your backend infrastructure, you'd have to have like the front end team, or like the full stack engineer cared about the product, and you had to have someone doing systems.
Right.
But nowadays, the tooling's evolved where you can, entire teams can function and can completely offload the systems
Right.
piece of it, at least until they become big enough to where the system, can pay some huge dividends.
And well, I
Yeah,
mean, that's like super like talking about like account management and things. So we had a call the other day with somebody who was using Jellypod to um, create like sales enablement trainings and
Mm.
materials. And that was an awesome eye opening experience for I think both of us, just to understand like there's just all this content that's out there. Like companies have to do compliance trainings, sales enablement, all these sort of business functions that exist today that have content that people need to read, they need to kind of understand and comprehend and retain. And one of our customers um, was pretty much using Jellypod to make these types of trainings and enablement like podcasts, and that was super cool because he is then able to go out and sell those things, those podcasts to those companies, um, and
For huge ROI.
huge ROI. And I mean that makes us happy because it's like independent of the end, um, that final product, like our business model and it's kind of interesting. Like the way that we think about our business is sometimes that final, I don't know what you'd call it on the like on the conveyor belt of manufacturing, but it's like we're very at the very end. It's like right before the consumer essentially. Um, you might, as a creator, you're probably not the consumer, but you're distributing it. But this guy's like we're putting he's going one level above us, I guess, and using our platform kind of more as like a infrastructure provider or like a SaaS platform to deliver services for his customers, which is pretty interesting use case there.
Yeah. A challenge for anybody watching this is if you have got like if you've got some company or some brand that you really like and you think that like wow like they should have a podcast and it should be like this and it should talk about this and I totally get it and they don't have that then give it a try, like try to sell it. You could make a free proof of concept podcast episode right now and go to sell it to them. And just to give you guys a sense for this, like we heard somebody sell a podcast to, I think it was like Turkish Airlines for $50,000 for a 10-part
Yeah,
episode.
that was crazy,
Um,
right?
yeah, I think for that kind of thing that they usually want to like potentially have like executives talking on it. But
Right.
there are some that are like, within that order of magnitude. And it's just two podcast hosts, two speakers. You can personify them the way however you might want to. Like,
And this just goes back to that whole idea that like us as a company, me and you, we have like what we're building, but you as a creator come in with this unique insight into some market, into some space, some business industry that allows you to be uniquely suited to create something like this for that client or for that person. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, why don't you do this yourself? I mean, you could think about us more as just that layer to enable all these types of creators because we can't. I mean, we don't know everything about the world. We don't know how every industry and every company works. But if you have that unique insight into something, you can come and create a podcast that's just like very tailored to your end listener. So
yeah,
yeah,
that expertise I think matters more than ever. That's why like with the person that you're describing, like we couldn't replicate that. Even if we sat down right now and tried for a while,
right,
um, it still wouldn't be at the same quality bar because you've got to have the sort of the expertise, the experience in that space, understanding what's important, what's not important, and making sure that the product, the Jellypod produces something that checks off all those boxes. It's almost like you have to know the requirements to what is valuable.
right,
It's kind of what you call taste in a way. It's like you got to have that sense for what it will and will not be good.
totally,
Um, yeah,
totally. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's kind of a tangent, but I mean, since it lasts 5 minutes. But the taste thing is just something that I'm super passionate about. And in the Twitter X developer sphere, so this is probably something that people aren't watching as much, but there's this very famous in the indie hacker builder community who essentially just used AI to generate this like flying plane game, and within 17 days he got to $1 million in ARR. Like just exploded in traction. He's just been posting about it. And it's so funny because he was able to use AI to build this thing that just looks really horrible. Kind of, it's just like blocky Minecraft looking planes, and you can have dogfights, and you have like massive blimps with advertisements on it from like big companies. In this game, that's how he got to his $1 million. But it's like that's great today, and it's going to be super cool because it's what you can build. And imagine what you could build a year from now with just the designer product sense, where you could just be more descriptive and prescriptive on all of it, and make it actually kind of feel like a Microsoft Flight Simulator type thing. But it's just pretty cool because what you can build and accomplish now with AI, whether it's in content creation, just accelerating that without necessarily needing to be as in the weeds as you once needed to be.
Totally. Yeah.
So,
Imagine a world in a year where there's just a million branded Flappy Birds.
well, and that's what's interesting. That when it goes back to taste, like today, it's like people are not using the tools and they don't know about the tools and the existence of the tools. But in a year from now, I'm assuming more people will know about the tools and have experienced them. But the output quality, that bar, because it essentially becomes very cheap and inexpensive to build something or create something, the quality bar is going to go up so you can actually stand out. And so, like, that's something for anyone out there as a creator, as a builder or engineer, anything. Like, if you live in a future, if you think this is the future where the cost of creation goes down to zero, creation of software, creation of videos, creation of a podcast, anything, then what makes you stand out? It's not, um, there's not this massive upfront cost that you need to invest to get something out there, but it's going to be your time and your ability to be better than everyone else from a taste, design, and a focus perspective.
Yeah.
So,
And, and,
um,
and and discovery and like, marketing will be more important than
discovery,
ever.
marketing, and distribution, and right,
Yeah.
right,
I saw some like VC post recently about how like, he was looking at like 5 years ago, the cost of a salesperson and a sales engineer and an engineer, and then like 5 years from now. And he was basically forecasting that you'd see the salaries flip, where like the best salespeople will be making crazy amounts of money in a few years from now, because that's going to be your core differentiator, is how you can bring the human aspect. I don't know. It's not my
sure,
opinion. One interesting thing that actually just came to me to mind as you were talking about this is, when everyone talks about building, they talk about these like a world where everyone's got their own version of something. That's right, like build your own SaaS, whatever. But if you combine that with the trend that I think has been happening amongst the youth for a while now, it's these worlds where people build together, right? It was Minecraft, then it was
mm-hmm.
Roblox, and like even in Roblox, like there's like coding inside of it. If you combine AI, if you basically have all these new developers, but you put them all on one product together, building the same thing, then what kind of world building happens in that kind of
Totally,
context? And then the distribution is built in. You have users using this world that anybody can build onto.
right.
So that imagine like like 5-year-olds playing some kids game, and they're like they're building it through ideas.
Totally. Totally.
And
No, it's
thanks.
super interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
I was
sorry. Go
gonna
ahead.
I was gonna say thanks to Francis for dropping a comment. We have a
Oh yeah.
chat. I think she writes. I would. Oh yeah, there we go. That's sweet.
I know. I just clicked on it. I didn't know that was going to happen, but there you go.
Yeah, and I too
um,
don't. I too wouldn't have guessed.
but I
It's
mean,
incredible.
so take into consideration we're next week for our launch week. Come out, join us on Monday. We're doing a live stream at 10 a.m. It'll be on YouTube, but it'll be like restreamed across all the different channels. So join us 10 a.m. on Monday Pacific time for the big first announcement of day one of Jellypod launch week one. We'll be talking about what new feature we released there. We'll demo it and kind of hint at the next few days and what to expect. And yeah, so really excited. Share it with your friends. Tag Jellypod launch week. Um, yes, It was a spelling
Yeah,
mistake, but
sorry,
it's okay.
Francis. No, it's all good. We didn't mean to put
We
you on
loved it. We
blast.
loved it.
Yeah.
I didn't. Sorry to put you on blast there. I didn't
That's the
realize.
last time she writes a comment.
I didn't realize that it was gonna by clicking it was gonna show the whole thing. But awesome. Yeah. Well, we'll see you there on Monday, 10 a.m. And well, launch week is fast approaching. So we'll talk to everyone then.
All right. Bye bye.
See.